What's the point of reciting a litany of wrongs done to me? I'm not a whiner. I'm not looking to make excuses. I'm all about moving forward. The stories of my life are known to me. Mine are no more interesting than any other person's, if not less. There's no need for yet another memoir. At least, that's what I said when folks told me I should write my life stories. Last words are famous for a reason. Always a writer, I've written words for and about others, and they always say, "That's it! How did you know that's what I was thinking or wanted to say?" But when it came to writing about me, I was too close to the subject. As the bad story implied, I didn't want to write about the negatives, and the positives were few. However, 4 momentous things happened back to back that were delightful and worrisome, and I needed to understand them. 1. I stepped away from a highly structured religious life. I was not unhappy with my beliefs or the people, but no matter how hard I worked at getting close to God and feeling love from and for Him, He was getting further and further away, and my numbness was growing. At the same time, it became intolerable not to reach Him or not allow Him to reach me. 2. I divorced my husband of 32 years. It could have been a good match. But after doing all I could with what I had, it was time to put us both out of our misery. 3. I traded rural and suburbia for the city. I needed to immerse myself in noise, movement, and life. 4. I went into a highly creative and prolific period that I've not yet come out of. Original music and songs and novels and short stories have not stopped pouring out. But making sense of my life by writing things out? It was proving to be nearly impossible. Then a friend loaned me a book written by someone from his hometown. Mark Richard's House of Prayer No. 2 was brilliant. I cried throughout, and I could not put it down until the end. I didn't cry so much for his story, though it was beautiful and poignant and lyrical in its harshness. No, I cried because I finally found a methodology by which I could put voice to my story and, oh please, God, maybe make sense of this life of mine. Using the second-person singular tense proved to be the path. Instead of writing, "I ate the melty mints," I wrote as if someone else were telling me the story. "You ate the melty mints." The psychic distance needed had been found. Finally, being able to see the stories from this vantage point woke my brain, and a short 6 weeks later, my life was on paper. Some have asked why I chose to keep all but a select few individuals unidentifiable. There are various reasons, but the main one is that by doing so, I could concentrate on the role each played in my life. Giving my mother, siblings, abusers, and others titles provided that further psychic distance. I did not want to become so caught up in the emotional telling that the lesson was lost. Further, I did not want to allow these people to be identified in their lives now. We've all moved on. Demonization and controversy are not my goals. My goal is simply to understand my place in the world and answer the age-old questions. Why am I here? How did I get here? Does anybody care that I'm here? What value do I bring by being here? Once written, to get feedback on the story, I asked a few people to read it. 4 writing friends, 2 females, 2 males, 2 female cousins, 1 on each side of my family, my daughter, and my father's sister, a beloved aunt. I was not prepared for their reactions. I expected they would disagree with what I did not know. They would say I was whining, though I am not known as a wallower. They would accuse me of pointing fingers. I always saw others pointing back at me first. None of this happened. Instead, each said it was a most powerful story, and weighty conversations ensued. I let the stories sit for a few weeks, then reread them. Page after page delivered a gut punch, a 1-2 slap, and a belly laugh of recognition. Then it sat on a shelf. I was busy. Challenges presented by the sluggish economy were killing my business. Music would not shut up, and the headaches that kept coming if I did not let the music out meant it was taking a larger role in my life. Then I saw a need on the business side of music and began a software company to address that need. Now in my mid-50s, staring at the end of my life, quickly moving through savings and wondering what in the hell I was going to do if the music, novels, and software did not start earning, well, Twinkle did not merit a lot of my attention. Then after being in the studio, overseeing the recording of one of my songs, having coached a nervous singer through a 4-hour session, and answering the engineer's questions about the mix, I had what I thought was going to be a relaxing dinner with an editing client, now also a friend, who read Twinkle the previous year. He said, "Angela, I'm getting ready to have my say, and you're to be quiet and let me have it." He crossed his arms, planted his feet flat on the floor, and leaned back in his chair. "Angela, I read your memoir. I saw your spiritual path. I could clearly see how God has been there for you and how you're working on trusting Him more and more." I nodded while clamping my mouth shut. Where was he going with this? Then he let me have it. "So my question to you is this. Why are you keeping this book from readers? Why are you not trusting that no matter how it becomes available, it shall do what it is intended to do, whatever that is?" I began to speak, and he held up a hand. "I'm not finished. I know you don't have time to do everything, so find somebody to help with getting the word out. But get the book out there. Trust God." I said I would think about it, and I did. By the next week, the decision was made to put Twinkle out into the big wide world. One business partner, when told, shook his head in a frustrated fashion and said, "What I've been telling you." But it had been over a year since I looked at it, or frankly even thought about it other than in passing. What would I think now? An interesting thing happened on this reread. I began to see patterns in what seemed to be unrelated incidents. The warp and woof became not individual strands existing alone or at cross purposes, but things of high interest to my Heavenly Father who, unbeknownst to me, had been around more than I knew and was still weaving. The pattern of my life came into clear enough focus that I was able to examine the big matters: God, loving, cheerfulness, creativity, and trust. God has always had His eye on me, and yet I went through what I did. I was a loving and happy child, forced to live without support and denied trust. I was highly creative, yet surrounded by people who thought I was a nut. Hijacked, fractured, and held hostage since I was very young, my true identity was only now being revealed, restored, and released. What did it all mean? So I pulled the threads in the warp and plucked at the strands in the woof and asked, which is connected to God? Which to love? Cheer, creativity, and yes, trust. To my horror, I, Angela Marie, began to understand the width and depth of my distrust and to see all the ways this had affected my life. This made me sad for myself. And yet, from reading my story, I could see how all along hope existed within, and found it still does. While knowing the worst would happen, I kept hoping for the best, and still do. A friend asked how this was still possible after all that had happened. I did not know, but I was born a happy child. The two ends of my life are coming full circle, so maybe that's it. In any case, using an impersonal you instead of the intimate I allowed me to tell the story in a way that imparted both information and insight. Like an unrelenting horde of spring mosquitoes on pale winter skin, my soul was pricked with revelation. I learned so much that I knew less than ever. But now the lack was not bothersome, because at the same time I grew in trust of my Heavenly Father. The title Twinkle was not arrived at until after the book was written. That's what I've always done. Twinkle. It's what I prefer to do. Yet it seems evil and weak powers, seen and unseen, made me use my twinkle for negative purposes and have been attempting to kill it, along with my good attitude, my cheer, my love of goodness, my hope, and my lifelong desire for faith. That battle rages on. This last reread came at a most advantageous time. It helped me understand and appreciate even more that my Heavenly Father has been with me through all my ups and downs and sideways twists. And what more can a girl ask for but that such a grand and awesome daddy be there for her always? Yet a girl still asks for confirmation. She says, "Daddy, can you hear me? Daddy, you won't leave me, right? Daddy, are you there? Daddy? How do I know you're there?" And because you take so long to catch on, hints always fly over your head, your Heavenly Father let you know, through a set of circumstances that cannot be denied, that now wisdom and courage are needed in full measure. Yes, you still need undeniable evidence of that care and that love and that eye being upon you. So to accomplish that, your grand and awesome daddy has sent unlikely people to counteract the merciless years, such as Mr. Hardy and Miss Jane Chapman and Marie of the gift shop, such as the sign maker who allowed you to simply stand and watch, the school librarians who saw your need to be near books and let you help with breaking new books' spines, lunchroom ladies who said hello and had a special smile for you, hardware store owners who didn't run off the little girl who examined the shiny things on shelves and questioned, the retired couple, professional ballroom dancers who grabbed your hands, pulling you to the middle of a dance floor to show you could move in time with another human without planning. The entire family whose loving arms encircled you and cried about your lack of a daddy. The teachers who said, "Angela, read your wonderful story to the class." The students who listened in rapturous delight to your little tales written with assigned spelling words and wanted more. The boys whose sense of decent manhood was offended and showed their anger at a man's abuse of you. The girls who cried because you didn't have a good daddy like them. And others, too, In those people acting as God's angels unaware has come the help, comfort, and support the girl needs. The girl. Me. Angela Marie Kell Durden, from the sofa in her peaceful home.